Welcome to the Elite Performance Team Podcast. Dominic Brillo and Dr. Jan Kaspowitz produce podcasts weekly with information in health and wellness, as well as guests on our podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks for listening. If you like our content, you can find more information on Facebook or subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. Today we have Betsy Montanez.
Hi.
Welcome, Betsy.
Hi.
Hello, Betsy.
Betsy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Don't
be shy. Yeah, I've never been called shy. No, a New Jersey native, born and raised Jersey girl. Oh, why is this going backwards?
Betsy, don't disappear on
I'm
us.
falling. I love Dormy. I've been active in athletics now since I was 15, so, or probably even younger, so 25, 30 years. I'm not really good at math. Doing a lot of different sports throughout my lifetime. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Just play hard, work hard.
I like that. Start with a quote of the day. Today's quote: motivation gets you started, habit keeps you going. Doc, what do you think about that?
Hugely important. I mean, everybody can get motivated on a Monday, but it's getting motivated every single day, creating those habits. And then once those habits, you start getting those habits, then you start creating like a loop. And then, well, you know, Dom, you get into this loop, and then basically it's no longer, not much motivation is necessary because it becomes part of your lifestyle. So very simple, like a lot of people this time of year, they want to lose weight. You get your 2020 New Year's resolutions, of which now majority of people have failed because they get motivated on Monday, but they didn't create the habits to create that loop, which goes ahead and turns around and creates that lifestyle that you want. Great quote.
I actually read somewhere recently, today maybe, that January 19 is the make or break it day for New Year's resolutions. That if you can keep that resolution, whether it's going to the gym or whatever, past the 19th, because that's generally how many days it takes to create that habit. You know, and I hear your motivation, and I actually start thinking about muscle memory as well. I think once our bodies and our routine becomes every day, it just becomes our way of life, and it's no longer just a task. It's just what we do.
Sure.
You're right, exactly. And I had heard something about 7 out of 10 people can lose weight, no problem. But within 3 years, the number is staggering. It's like 90% of those people put the weight on plus.
Oh yeah.
And so everybody has the ability to actually lose weight. It's the point of keeping it off.
Not if you live in my house, whose wife bakes every day.
But I about this quote. Once it becomes habit, it's almost like when it doesn't happen, you feel off.
Right.
So whatever it is, and we tend to always kind of go toward training with this, but and diets. But once you fall off, it's almost as if you don't feel right.
Well, that's, I think, for a lot of athletes when we're dealing with major injuries where we can't do what has become our routine, our habit. That's why we start actually getting depressed and things like that, because it's become our way of life, and you know, now you can't run or train or whatever, and because again, it's not about the motivation, it's about creating the habit.
Right.
We're going to stop just for 1 second. There's a little clip right there. Right there. Push that in towards you. Push it. No, push it in like this. There you go.
Oh.
You got it?
I got this.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you won't go back.
Oh, yay!
So my wife's going to be able to edit this part out, and then
Okay.
we'll go ahead and go.
Yay, because I keep falling.
Betsy, tell us about your experience as a student athlete and the first female wrestler in Montclair.
Yeah, so I became a student athlete in high school. Interestingly enough, I was a high school cheerleader, and I walked around with a high school cheerleading varsity jacket with the wrestling patch on my sleeve, because I also wrestled in high school. I wrestled for North Bergen High School for 1 year. But yeah, I think it's such an interesting balance, that of a student athlete, because there's a reason you're a student athlete and not an athlete student. You really have to balance your academics and the reason you're there with love of sport. And Division III athletes, we really are love of sport. You know, we're not getting scholarships. We're really doing it because we love being out there. And then, interesting enough, this was 1997, 1998. there weren't any girls wrestling on men's teams in colleges. So I was actually the first NCAA women's wrestler that we know of at this point. And I was very fortunate. Steve Strelner was the head coach at Montclair State at the time. And instead of turning me away like other coaches had in my past, he embraced me and he was like, okay, come on down, and if you can get through the workout, you're more than welcome to stay on the team. And he became almost like a second father. It was interesting too to get out on that team, because at first the guys some of the coaches were supportive, like Strelner. Some of the coaches weren't, and the guys necessarily weren't. And I think once I was there and I proved the reasons I was there, it turned into a pretty okay situation. There was always one or two guys that didn't want me there, but that was just stuff that I had to overcome, and it actually, right, sports prepares us for life later. Having to deal with people who don't want me there, or taught me how to navigate with personalities that are difficult or different than my own, and how to kind of get to a place where maybe not so much we're on the same page or we get along, but at least we respect each other.
Sure. And so obviously you're wrestling men.
Yes.
And weight class, you same number?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Montclair State was Division III wrestling at the time, but we were really good. We were really good. So we were wrestling Penn State, Iowa State. Actually, anybody out there who knows wrestling knows Cale Sanderson, and his 100th win was against Montclair State University. It was against one of my teammates. So it was interesting because we wrestled East Stroudsburg University, and they were Division I, and they really weren't that good. But at the 125 weight class was their only All-American, Jeremy Slaughter. And so USA Wrestling caught wind that he and I wrestled, and next thing you know, it turned into a very big article in USA Wrestling that Jeremy Slaughter, he's wrestled Bob, he's wrestled Billy, but he's never wrestled a Betsy. And so, it was weird because they were touting all his stuff, but I was like almost like the sideshow. Like, oh, he wrestled a girl, look how cute. And I was like, I'm out there, I'm working just as hard, if not harder. Because, unfortunately, being the only woman on a men's team, good was never good enough. I had to be, quote unquote, great. So I was working just as hard, and to be almost mocked by this article. And I think that was one of the first times that I realized the responsibility I had in being the first woman to wrestle, because I was hoping I wouldn't be the last. And if you follow New Jersey wrestling, girls wrestling has blown up in New Jersey and across the country, and we're in the Olympics now. And so, I knew early on that I was paving that way, and I knew
That's
that
very
responsibility.
insightful, because exactly what you're saying, it's like you're laying down the groundwork for everybody else who's going to come after you.
Right.
And if you come off as the, no disrespect, like the bitch,
Right.
then it's going to be really rough for everybody else. But you took your cross, you bore it, you bring in, yeah, that's great, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I forced people to take me seriously, not give me any pet names in these articles, not to try to make light of what I was doing, but really to be treated equally. And I hope that that's definitely paved the way for the girls today.
So, aside from wrestling, we know you do a lot of other activities involving sports. Triathlon, running, obviously, right, all three of those, swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back to sports?
For me, it's my identity. A lot of people identify as different things in their life. For me, I identify as an athlete first, and most importantly for me, a female athlete. And I say that because being a female athlete brings its own challenges that are different from, I'm sure, being a male athlete has its own challenges that I don't know what those are, but I know what mine are. And so, yeah, for me, it gives me a sense of purpose. And going back to the quote of the day, it's my motivation. It's my motivation to keep moving. It also brings order and discipline into my life because of the training regimens and things of that nature. And, I've burned out a few times. I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to be fat and happy. Now I just rather choose to be fit and happy. And, those times that I kind of got away from sport, whether for whatever reason, whether it was an injury or whatever, I realized that my life also became disorganized. I didn't have that structure and that order, and so I needed that back. And so then I just find sports that, one, are fun, and two, that my body physically can continue to do. You know, I knew wrestling was over. After so many knee surgeries, I knew that, you know, and there really isn't much, there wasn't any further for me to go in wrestling after I graduated, you know, after officiating. So I started running, and then because my crazy friends were like, you should do triathlon, I was like, okay, I'll do that too. And so that's kind of where my passion is now.
That was the segue right there, that's how you got into running?
So I hate running. I still hate running. I run angry. I run literally angry. Like, don't stop me at a race. Don't try to cheer me on.
One second. Did you run a lot for wrestling? Was that part of the training?
I did, and so running for wrestling is almost like running for punishment, because you're running to make weight. So I associated running with making weight. You know, running never was anything fun for me, and I guess I still kind of equate running with punishment in a way. So no, I don't like running, generally speaking. Whoever said there's a runner's high, I'm still looking for it. I don't know where it is.
Oh, I had that about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I actually started running
angry
this year
runner.
for about 10 days until my knees got a little cranky. Then I'm like, I gotta do a lot of work to get back into running. I'm still contemplating it, but it's on the back burner.
Yeah, but yeah, so I started running again because I got connected with Team Red, White, and Blue, and so that, you know, one of their big things is running, and so I kind of got into running that way, and somebody challenged me to do a 10K, and then somebody challenged me to do a half, and a half turned into a marathon, and so I think I really took up running again in 2014, and by 2016 I had run my first marathon, which I thought, you know, I would never do. And I watched my brother run a marathon, his first, New York City as well, and I just remember being so inspired by everybody that was running, but especially my big brother. So, and interestingly enough, he wrestled, which is how I got into wrestling, and then he started running, which is how I got into running.
That's great.
But he won't get into triathlon. Yeah, and then triathlon, I was like, yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, but I'm deathly afraid of water. And so I didn't know how to swim. And so part of the attraction to triathlon was overcoming a fear as well. So it wasn't only training in the regiment, but it was also, you know, I've been told my whole life, you can't do this because you're a girl, or you can't do this because of whatever reason. And I was, for the first time, I was telling myself, you can't do triathlon because you can't swim. And I was like, wait a minute, I've never listened to anybody else tell me no. Why am I going to tell myself no? So I learned how to swim, and I completed a half Ironman without drowning, which is always a plus.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's huge. What keeps you motivated? For me, sometimes it's not easy. It's not hard for me to stay motivated, but a lot of times signing up for an event, I won't go into that event unprepared.
Right.
So for me, sometimes that's easy enough for me to grab some motivation.
Yeah, what keeps me motivated is failure is not an option. And I say that, you know, managing what success means for me, right? I'm never gonna, well, I never say never, but I more than likely am not gonna win. I've never won my age group, you know, even when I wrestled, I didn't have a winning record or whatever, but I find my successes in what I can accomplish. And so you're right, I'm not gonna go into a race unprepared. I may not have the best time out there, but it's my best time. And so that's what I mean by failure is not an option. So that definitely keeps me motivated. And I'm also motivated by carrying with me in my heart and on my shoulders those that can't. You know, because of what I do working in the military community, I find myself, you know, honoring fallen, honoring people that I know would be there with me, whether they've passed on or they're injured or whatever. So I think that also motivates me. And I know people are watching. I know that somewhere I'm probably inspiring someone the way I've been inspired by someone. And so I feel that I can't let them down either. And most importantly, my loved ones that believe in me, that take time away from their loved ones and their schedules to train with me, that take interest in me. You know, even you guys who help keep me able and being out there, I owe you guys that as well, you know, and so that's what keeps me motivated.
You know, to segue off what you're saying too, is that I don't really have any competitive fire whatsoever to win a race or to put a lot of training in to do like these real, I do like, grand fondos, 110-mile bike rides, just for the fun of it. What motivates me, exactly what you're saying, is for the people who can't. And me and Don talk about this all the time, is that, wow, we get to do this. There's some people, I'm 46, there's some people that didn't even make it to the age of 46. Or I have people who come into my office, and some of the patients we see, they can't ride a bike. And I'm like, wow, I get to do this. Or it's like, I see what happens when you don't exercise, when you don't eat healthy, and then I have to work on them and try to get them to create these habits as well. So, yeah, my inspiration, my motivation is not really within myself, but it's seeing others, interacting with others, and being grateful that I have the ability, I have 2 legs, 2 arms that are functioning, and I can do this. So I got the body, thanks God for the body, now let me use it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge. Betsy, how do you balance work, training, and a life?
Life is sport? No. Well, actually, there's truth to that. So a lot of my social interactions have focused around my athletics. So my closest friends are people that I train with, generally speaking. So I do train a lot individually, but I also do a lot of group training. We go on rides together, or we'll run together, and sure enough, after that run, we're gonna grab a bite together. So I've created my training, I've made that part of my social aspect to my life. So I think that's kind of where I find that balance. And for folks that say, well, I don't have time, we always have time. It's prioritizing our time. So maybe that means waking up a little bit earlier, or moving stuff around. Maybe that means not going out on a Friday night.
Netflix.
Yeah, binge watching. Well, you can always binge watch on the trainer. But maybe that means not being out late on a Friday night to train early on a Saturday. So in life, there's always compromise, and I guess it's just how bad do you want it? How much do you
Dom
want
actually
this?
put something really interesting on social media. What was that thing you put on now? People think it's insane to go ahead and run for a certain amount of hours.
It's like running 5 days a week, people think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But
Binge watching like Netflix for like 6 hours a day is not.
Right.
That's insane.
to me, that's insane.
You just lost all that time.
Right. And so you said it, I wish more people would think that way, what you said. If you're going to thumb on social media for an hour, why don't you walk on a treadmill?
Right.
Get a treadmill, go stand there. Now it's productive, social media.
Yeah.
But right, you're going to binge watch something, do it while you're exercising.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about the prioritizing, but people don't want to prioritize
Right.
training.
Yeah, everybody has 24 hours in a day. No one gets any extra hours, and
1,440 seconds?
Minutes.
yeah, no, I can't do that kind of math.
Right there.
It's right there.
Oh.
Just to remind
Yeah.
patients and clients.
But it's true, we all get the same amount of time, and yet we see people and we're like, wow, they were so productive, I wish I can do that. And the truth is, you can do that. That is the one thing you can do, right? We are all able-bodied enough, able-minded enough to be productive. It's just a choice of what does productive mean to you, and what do you want to do with that. For some people, maybe it's spending hours writing a book. That's not me. For me, it's going to be spending hours training and stuff. And again, if you can make your passion, into your social life, if you can include it, then you find your balance naturally. I love meeting up with my friends and going for a swim and then grabbing a bite, or riding the bike. We have fun doing that. My mom always says, when are you going to make time for yourself? And I was like, my training is time for myself,
Exactly.
And she's like, well, when are you seeing so-and-so? And I'm like, we're training together. So, you always say, surround yourself by like-minded people. And so that's what I choose to do. I surround myself by like-minded people that are going to enjoy it. And so that's my trick to work-life balance.
Dr. Jan and I have ridden quite a bit together. We did a long bike ride together. We were probably out there for about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it might sound sort of cliche. We talked about nutrition, we talked about training, we talked about supplements. It's literally, and to me, that ride, it sticks in my head, that particular ride. How many do I do a year? To me, that's happy hour.
Right.
Right, it was 4 hours, whatever the hell it
Yeah.
was. That's a happy hour to me.
Absolutely.
And that is my time. and I completely agree with that.
Oh yeah, I would say that some of the best therapy happens during a half marathon or a marathon when you're running with people, because you're out there in 2.5 hours, anywhere to like 6 hours a marathon, and you really get to know somebody, you really get to share with them. You actually put your guard down sometimes too, and so that's...
you share the experience, you share the struggle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and even when I run alone, I always think, somebody passes me, and I'm like, well, good for them today. Today they ran faster than me.
I'm the guy who always waves to people on the bike, but I'm also the guy who waves to people and don't wave when they don't wave back. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
No, I'm not.
Really? No wave? Yeah.
I'm not nice to people. I don't talk to people. I don't stop. I don't even stop to like high five my friends when I'm running. But
actually, me and Dom once did we did this, not together, but we did a half Ironman. I did the bicycle portion.
You relayed.
Yeah, I did the relay, and Dom did it solo. Dom was very nice enough to wave to me and say hi as he passed me by on the bike. Yeah.
It didn't quite go like that.
No, I'm nasty. I don't say hi. I've been known to yell at spectators. Anytime someone says you're almost there and you're not, oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
I've definitely lost it and scared some people, and we're like, if I'm running with somebody, they're like, are you okay? I was like, motherfuckers, we're almost there. Learn your goddamn running etiquette. Yeah, I get really nasty.
All right. So, Betsy, you are seen sporting red, white, and blue a lot.
Yeah.
RWB.
Yes.
It is a team.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this team.
So Team Red, White, and Blue is a national veterans organization whose mission is to transition veterans back into the community through physical and social activity. And so we are known very well around the country for being in races, and we usually run carrying the colors, carrying the flag. And let me tell you, if you've never done that, I challenge anybody and everybody to just put a flag on a pole and go out and run around your local park when your race, if you're allowed. New York Roadrunners unfortunately stopped us for safety reasons. But there's no bigger pride or immense feeling of running with the flag and people cheering you on and cars honking at you, and it's just, the flag belongs to all of us. So it's not just a veteran thing. I advise everybody to do it. But yeah, so that's what happened. So I've been working in the veteran community for 14 years as my professional career, helping veterans transition back into education and back into the community. And then a friend of mine, Deb Ravel, was like, you should come run with me in Team RWB. And I was like, one, I don't run, but that was then. And so what is it now? 5 years later, I've been fortunate enough to have a leadership role at one point within the organization, support veterans who are trying to get into sports and civilians alike, and mentor and be mentored. And so it was really neat because I got to combine two of my passions, working with veterans and athletics. And so that's kind of how I became part of Team Red, White, and Blue. And we sport the gear. We're not paid or anything. We do it out of our love for a team. The camaraderie that comes with it. A lot of folks don't realize the military and athletes, we have a lot of parallels. I don't want to say it's the same thing. I don't want to diminish military service, but camaraderie, regiment, the schedule, working out together, eating together, living in the same quarters together when you're dorming and stuff like that. So a lot of those parallels. So that's kind of what drew me to Team Red, White, and Blue. So that's why I'm very fortunate and proud to represent them when I'm racing.
That's excellent.
And it's open to veterans, non-veterans. We call our non-veterans, like myself, we call ourselves, we're veteran advocates or veteran supporters. Because the truth is, anybody who pays taxes is a civilian. But yeah, we're made up of veteran and veteran family members.
I obviously I do quite a bit of events, and I've seen Team RWB almost every marathon. I
Yeah.
think that, they're usually in a group.
Yep. Yeah.
And the flag's there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's fun to see. It's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely it's put sports into a different perspective for me too, because running could be a very individual sport, and so we'll run in packs. Sometimes a few of us will run, maybe in a pair or two, and then when we're done, we go back and we get our last runner. There's actually a triathlon up in Tupper Lake. They love having us up there, Team Red, White, and Blue, and another team I train with, Triathlete, because we stay till the last triathlete crosses that finish line. And we run about 20, 30 deep, and we're loud and we're cheerful and all of that, except for me, because I'm never cheerful. And race directors love having us because we feel like, whether you're first or last, especially if you're last, because anybody who's been out there knows you're embracing the suck the longest, you deserve to have that welcome to the finish line, not find race directors taking down stuff and stuff like that. So we really take the concept of no man left behind and put it into action. So yeah, so it's a fun team.
So you mentioned before several surgeries to your knees. One knee or both?
So I had my right knee done when I was 15. That was one. I've had my left knee done 5 times. Most recently, March of 2018, I had total knee and quadricep reconstruction.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting because 2017 was my year. That was like I know I need to have this knee redone. I don't care anymore. So I went out and I did my first half Ironman. That was September. And then I went and did the Marine Corps Marathon in October and the New York City Marathon the week after that, and whatever, all the halves and stuff in between. So I just banged out all these races really on one leg.
So this is all pre-op, you did all
This
these
was all pre-op, yeah, because first of all, the doctor said, you need to not race, and I was like, well, that's not happening. And then they were like, well, you may not race after the surgery, and I was like, well, that's not happening either.
It's crazy outlook they give you.
Yeah, no, he's a great doctor and literally wrote the book on knee reconstruction, but he wasn't very bedside manner kind of guy. And he didn't know me, and he doesn't know my training ethics. He literally said to me, well, you're not Lindsey Vonn, so I don't know why you need to go out there. And I was like, no, I'm not Lindsey Vonn, but I'm Betsy Montanez, and this means something to me.
We try to build everybody up that comes into the office.
Right, within reason. It's not like I'm going to do something to hurt myself. But yeah, so I was like, at this point, who cares? So I had this great breakout year, and then 2018 hit. I had the surgery in March, and I basically had to learn to re-walk. I couldn't lift my leg, I couldn't bike, I couldn't run, and I was, depressed, like borderline clinically depressed. Because I was like, I can't do anything. So I had a choice of either embrace the suck or do something about it. And so I did that. I embraced the suck and did something about it. And I used my off year per se while I was healing, but I was still at every race. I was volunteering at every race. I was cheering on my team at every race. So I could have hid it in the corner, but instead I go out with a huge knee brace. I was out on crutches at the New York City half, waiting for my teammates to come down with the flag. So I had a choice. I could stay in bed, woe is me, or I could do something about it. And I chose to do something about it. And then all at the same time while doing physical therapy and all of that. So yeah, and and then I had people come up to me and like, I watched what you went through with that surgery, and you're back out there, and I'm so inspired. And I'm like, I'm glad I was able to do that for you. But watching my team stay out there, and I always look at everybody who's out on a race course, and I wonder, what's their story, what's their why, what did they overcome, and so, because I know I'm not the only one, so I always think about that. So I always find inspiration in others. But yeah, I've had some surgeries. I'm hopefully won't have any surgery anytime soon. But yeah, again, it's motivation, habit, mindset, passion, perseverance. And I just chose, okay, I can't race, but I'm going to support. And now I can race again, and so I'm grateful for everybody who's out on the course supporting me.
I had a hip surgery. I tore my hip a couple years ago, and the doctor, he wasn't like hard about it, but he said, probably going to want to cap your runs at 3 miles. He said, so maybe 5K is going to be your distance from this point forward. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And here I am now. I've PR'd in the 5K post-surgery.
Right.
I PR'd in the 5K, PR'd in a half marathon, and I'm still moving forward to more PRs. And I just think they're on reserve. You know what I mean? They're I don't know if you should.
I can understand being cautious, but I don't understand no. I just don't do well with the word no, and it's almost like a challenge, like, you know, like How I Met Your Mother, challenge accepted, and like, well, you're not probably going to be able to do this. Challenge accepted, yes I will, you know, and again, being cautious to not hurt myself. I was told, I had the surgery in March of 2018, and I was told I would start running a year after surgery. Well, a year and 10 days of the surgery, I ran the New York City half marathon in March of 2019. And they were like, no, we meant you could start running. I was like, okay, well, I started with a half marathon. So, and then I went to finish the Marine Corps Marathon in 2019. It was slow. It wasn't about, you know, PRing for me that year. It was just about getting the mileage and getting it done. This year, 2020, is my year to start building up my speed and stuff again.
You know, coming from a physician's perspective, what I think they try to do is they try to basically put you in a position to succeed. So if they tell you that you can't run more than 3 miles, and then that you do, then basically they just don't want to see you get hurt. I don't think they're trying to like crush your ambitions, although I don't like the way that a majority of these physicians, these orthopedists go ahead about it, telling you that you shouldn't be doing this, you're not Lindsey Vonn. That's not the way to do it.
Right.
You know, proceed with caution, you know, make sure you're doing functional strengthening, strengthen that thing properly. Prior to getting the surgery, do some strengthening before the surgery, so this way you're healed quicker and get back to what you're doing.
Right.
But I think for the most part, the doctors don't want to see you complicate things or overreach before you're ready to do it.
Right.
So I'm not defending them, but I do think the way they go about speaking to you with your goals, they need to be a lot more sensitive and understand that I don't have accurate numbers, but most times than not, humans can far exceed their expectations.
Right.
No matter what injury they actually have.
Well, I think, you know, you're
especially with the veterans that you work with, it's like oh, you're not going to be able to do this, and then they do.
Your doctors, your coaches, your trainers, you know, they're part of your team, and I think it's important to set realistic goals and say, look, I know you want to run a marathon, but right now, let's just stick to these 5Ks. Let me give you the tools that you need to build yourself back up.
Sure.
I think that's fair versus
I think
just
it's
being
fair
like,
to say, just say in time.
Right.
You know, instead of saying, no, you're not going to be able to do it. No, right now I'm not going to be able to do it, but
Right.
in time, I still got my legs. There's really no reason why I can't run again.
Yeah, and you know, and look, how many people do we know that don't have legs, that are amputees, that are still doing it, and
no need to crush,
better than me.
yeah,
So
no need to crush the ambition of someone.
right, I think I firmly believe where there is a will, there is a way.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, if my legs were so bad that I can't run anymore, then I'll take up hand cycling. Like, I will find a way to continue to compete, continue to be involved in the sports community. Again, when I was on crutches, I knew I couldn't do anything, so I volunteered. So I handed out water at a race. There was always a way for me to stay continued connected and involved and supporting. So that where there is a will, there is a way.
Doc, you brought up a really good point though about functional strength. I believe in my heart that that's why I got so much faster.
Sure.
Because I was doing so much physical therapy, and the things I learned in physical therapy, and I continued to do them. All of a sudden, I started running better,
Right.
faster, you know, more efficient. It wasn't like, oh my God, I did these, and now I'm running 5-minute miles. It wasn't quite like that, but definitely was if I wasn't so persistent on that, you know me, you can imagine how persistent I was.
Well, I think that's what doctors see most times. They see patients who are sedentary, they're not active into sports, and then, yeah, they have these big expectations. No, you're not going to be able to do it. But then if you get somebody who's an athlete who does a lot of functional strength to begin with, it's really nothing holding them back.
Well, I think that's why it's important. So, you know, 6 surgeries, and I had maybe 4 surgeons. Not that I was shopping around, but I was definitely looking for the surgeon that was going to be the best fit for me. Definitely getting recommendations from other athletes. Same thing with physical therapists. I've been with the same physical therapist for the last 5 years. He's amazing. He understands what my goals are. you know, I have you guys now as part of my care team. You guys are both athletes. You understand what my goals are. So I think it's really important to find, you know, like a good therapist. You want to find somebody that's a good fit for you. Not somebody who's going to tell you what you want to hear all the time, right? Because like any good parent or mentor, somebody has to say no to you sometimes. But somebody who, one, genuinely cares about you as a person and as an athlete, someone who's passionate about what they do, like you guys, and that's going to really set you up for success. And I think that's sometimes a little hard to find. So I'm definitely grateful for having my team in place, because again, they understand my individual crazy and my goals, and they might not say, you know, they don't say no to me, but they might say to me, not right now. Let's get you there. Let's, you know, let's. And I think, you know, how you go about doing that for people who are looking, you know, how to develop that team around them is to really, you know, interview your medical team the way you would get interviewed for your job. And if they're taking the time to listen to you, then that's the people you want on your team. If they're just like, yeah, okay, you know, we're just going to do this, and this, then you know what, keep it moving, because there are a lot of good doctors and good, you know, trainers and things like that. And I think that's really a big part. It's as important, if not more important, than the actual training you do yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, Betsy, it's been a pleasure to have you. Doc, anything in closing?
No, it's fantastic. Betsy's a
Betsy?
ball of fire.
Anything in closing?
Yeah, no, you know, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to you both for keeping me healthy. And, you know, to anybody who is listening, thank you. And, you know, set reasonable goals for yourself. Sometimes we have to learn, I think the most important thing we have to learn is to be patient with ourselves and really trust the process. You know, if you set out that your goal is going to be a 5K, you're going to run a 3-miler, then, you know, don't beat yourself up when you're only running a quarter of a mile at a time. Like, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And it's not always about fitness. You know, do that with all your goals in your life. You know, as you guys know, right now I'm in transition. I'm in between jobs, and I've had to learn to be patient with myself again there as well. And, you know, just like during my recovery time, I could stay at home and say, woe is me, or instead of like, well, I have this extra time on my hands, I'm going to take up a new hobby or continue to volunteer or train a little bit harder. So I think it's really important to always find that silver lining. It's really hard, but to always find that silver lining, and I think what makes that easier to do is surrounding yourself by really good people. So if people are toxic in your life, keep it moving. But yeah, you know, just be patient with yourself. And you'll get to your goals. Just be patient with yourself.
That's so true. So true. Thanks, Betsy.
Excellent. Thank you.
If you'd like, you can subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and iTunes, and please share it with your friends or anyone who may be interested in our content. Until next time, train your brain, train your body.